Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to State of the Gaming Industry, episode 21, where we round up all the, happenings within the video game world for the past week, and then we round it all up, give our thoughts about it every week here. If you are on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, do rate us a 5 stars and watch some of the previous episodes. So we got a lot to get into today. Not as many topics as usual, but a lot denser. So we're gonna have a lot more quality over quantity today. We're going to talk about Shuhei Yoshida's interview with Kinda Funny, just some of the things about his upbringing within Sony and how he made it to his position, different failures and things they learned from and got better at and things like that. We're going to talk about some canceled PlayStation games. We're going to talk about Xbox Developer Direct, which is coming out next week. We got the Switch 2 reveal, of course. So a lot to get into. So starting off, we're going to start with just again what I've been playing. Indiana Jones. I'm like 45, almost 50 hours into that game, and I think I'm in the second to last area. So I'm trying to finish that this weekend and hopefully get a review out Monday. I don't have work Monday because of MLK Day, so salute. So hopefully I can get that out for you guys. But we'll start with some of the weekly game releases. So not a ton. Again, January is kind of slow, as I've been saying for the last couple episodes. But what we got today or yesterday, while you're watching this, we did get Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which people were kind of feeling like Nintendo was trolling them with because it's like everything they kept posting about it, not the Switch 2. Like, we don't know. Like, that's all everybody's waiting for. It got 78, which it's kind of interesting. I wonder what the original Donkey Kong, because like Tropical Freeze. So, okay, I can't believe Donkey Kong 64 got a 90. So the original Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii got an 87. Tropical Freeze got an 83. Then this for some reason got a 78. So I'm not too sure why. You got this Metroidvania on PC and Switch called Blade Chimera that came out. And then today we have Tales of Graces F Remastered, which is out on pretty much every system. Another Tales of Falcom game. And in Dynasty Warrior Origins, I think IGN gave this game a 9. So, that's pretty good. I think that's the first quote unquote big release of the year. So getting an 80 is not pretty bad. So all good there. Okay, so there wasn't Until Dawn trailer. So I mentioned in last week's episode how PlayStation's kind of gone into we've seen it with The Last of Us and all the other properties, Twisted Metal. We know there's a Horizon show, live action. There's going to be a Helldiver show. So we did get an Until Dawn trailer. I've never played this game, but I think, that's my dude from Prison Break. But I mean, it looks okay. I can't really say for sure, but it seems like a thriller, kind of scary kind of thing. So, okay, there's some supernatural stuff going on with them going back in time. I guess they relive the same day over and over again. I honestly, I'd never played it, so, but ew. Yeah, Maggie going. Okay, that's enough. I shouldn't even watch that. So that's what you got, Until Dawn. But let's talk about some more PlayStation stuff. So Shuhei Yoshida, he had an interview with Kinda Funny, and there was a few things he talked about that I felt was pretty interesting. So overall, I like when they talk about their history. Like when he started with Sony's known as a hardware company, so we know we have their TVs, their DVD players, all this kind of stuff. And he grew up liking arcade games, right? And at the time, I believe he was working in 92 or 93, somewhere around there. And he was working in the PC department. And I forget, he met somebody, or he had an interview that he didn't know was an interview about gaming, and then they ended up, working on the PlayStation. He mentioned slightly, briefly mentioned the whole thing with, they were supposed to make something with Nintendo, and of course, that fell through, and the rest is history. But some other things he talked about that was interesting was the PlayStation Vita. So we've talked about this when it comes to people wanting another PSP, or the fact that Nintendo acknowledged the fact that they had to separate making, the handheld and the home console. So they always had that. They had the, NES and SNES and the Game Boy. You had the Game Boy Color with the N64. You had the Game Boy Advance with the GameCube. You had the Wii and the DS, so on and so forth. But after the Wii U and the 3DS, they decided to just have the Switch. It's a handheld, it's a hybrid, it's a home console, because when you have handhelds, you are dedicating time, as he says in here, we'll talk about it, but you're dedicating resources and teams to make dedicated video games for that hardware. So you're really, that's a lot of resources being split up. So it says, Greg Miller asks, where did we go wrong with the Vita? And he says, well, there's multiple reasons why the Vita didn't work. And people like the Vita that did have it. It's just, I guess, on the mass scale, it didn't do what it needed to do. But it says some of the technical choices they made weren't good. So they had a dedicated memory card. And the reason I like these interviews is I didn't finish it yet. It was like 2 hours or some change. I'm like an hour and 20 minutes in. But the thing I like about these interviews is it's informing me, stuff like that. Like, I didn't have a Vita. I had original PSP. I didn't know it had dedicated memory card. That is, people compare them kind of to Apple, where they want you to use their chargers, their, this and the third. So with other devices, you can go buy a random SD card or random memory card off eBay or whatever for like $10, but they had a dedicated memory card that you needed for the Vita, and it was expensive. So that's the first thing. Then he talked about, there was this thing with like the back touch, and I did a video talking about like old ads and stuff that wouldn't fly today in commercials, and there was one with like this double-sided woman with like boobs on her front and her back, and that was kind of for this, right? Like them having a back touch situation, which most games didn't use. And I feel like Nintendo did the same thing with the 3DS. A lot of people weren't using the 3D features, and that's why you get the 2DS that came out, the 2DS XL, that took away the 3DS feature, where you weren't even using it anymore. It was straining your eyes, things like that. And then he also mentioned that, yeah, the OLED was, cool, it looks good, but it costs more. And people say that with like the Switch. That's why the Switch OLED is $50 or $60 more than the regular Switch, because that screen does cost a lot more. And speaking of the Switch, what was crazy is they originally were going to have a video out port on the dev kit. So that would have let you be able to play it or hook it up to your TV or a monitor, just like the Switch. You dock it and are able to play on the screen. So that would have been crazy, but they removed it, and it only saved them a few cents doing that. So that was, it was insightful, and it's good to hear, because I think people look at PlayStation as like they never make any failures and things like that. Like the PS3 generation too, and he talked about it, he touched on it, was the PS3 generation, as people may or may not recall, was their worst selling generation. Every other system has sold or is on pace, if you're including the PS5, to sell 100 million units. And part of that was, it was really hard, and why you don't see a lot of the backwards compatibility stuff with the PS3 to PS4 or 5 was because, or remasters of those old games, is because, our ports rather, is because of the cell processor. He talked about they had to get their own warehouse to make the cell processors. They couldn't manufacture it in certain countries because it's like a supercomputer, and there's like military complications when it comes to that. Like, there was a lot going on that a lot of people didn't know. And that initial year, the PlayStation lost a lot of money, but thankfully Sony, because they're a hardware company, they sell other stuff, they sold a bunch of flat screen TVs or whatever other merchandise, so it was able to make up for the loss for that first initial year of the PS3. But yeah, and we know the core processor, it's hard to develop for and stuff like that, in which they, the important thing is, when you had these mistakes, you learn from it, and they decide not to do that for the PS4. He talked about the PS4 having a share button because Twitch was getting popular and things like that around that time. And that was from someone who worked at Sony Santa Monica. Like there's so many different innovative features or decisions that are made by these other people and individuals that, we see the big wigs and things like that, and we think they're coming up with everything. It's like, no, but they manage and kind of direct people, but it's the other people that's kind of coming up with all this stuff. And then the other thing he talked about was about Sony, how he wouldn't, if he was still in power, because he left his position when he was the head of everything in 2019. We know Jim Ryan was having this big push for live service games, and we'll talk about it, but like a lot of those did get canceled, and he said he wasn't with that. He's just like, hey, let's focus on the single player games. But you see here, this is from Bloomberg. Jason Schreier wrote it, and it says that Sony Group Corp PlayStation has canceled previously unannounced games at 2 of its top subsidiaries. So it says previously unannounced, so we didn't know about it. He mentions 2 games. So it's Blue Point making a game and Ben Studio, and they said they were both live service games. Now, it's kind of interesting because we know Sony is having this live service push with Helldivers 2. They're really good. Concord didn't do good, and then we got Marathon coming supposedly this year, and a bunch of other games they have. Originally they were going to do 10, they dropped it down to 6, but I just saw this tweet earlier that said these were the canceled games. So allegedly, of course, this is, I don't know where people get this, it's not verified information, but essentially they had, we know Concord, it came out, but it got canceled within 10 days. There was an unannounced God of War live service game, which I don't get. There was a Last of Us multiplayer, which we know was factions, and they had already put four years of work into that, which is crazy. There was a Spider-Man 2 multiplayer that was canceled, which we saw in like the Insomniac leaks, all the money they spend on those type of games. The Ben Studio game that I just mentioned, Twisted Metal live service, a London Studios co-op game that was the studio got closed, so they canceled the game. Deviation Games, and then Payback, which was going to be a third-person Destiny spinoff. So a ton of different live service games that ended up getting canceled. And Yoshida also mentioned that people look at, oh, we're spending all these time and resources making these live service games, and they're losing money that could be going into single player. But he mentioned that when Herman Hulse was at the helm, that they were giving him the money to do this stuff, and that these live service games, as we've already known, because single player games cost so much, the live service games do fund those. So if you can, it's a very hard genre to break into, but if you can get a successful one like Helldivers 2, where it's a live service game that also isn't free to play. They sold it for $40 a pop, and it sold 10 million or 15 million copies or something. So you make that money up front, and then keep getting money in perpetuity. And speaking of funding single player games, he also mentioned, hey, I know people don't like the remasters or remakes, but you got to realize those are a lot quicker to make than, like, if you like PlayStation and you like their big narrative, third person, over the shoulder movie cinematic type games that come out every 4 or 5 years or whatever, if you like that, he's saying you got to support the remakes and remasters. That gives money, that lets them know there's interest in the series, that lets them know porting over and bringing it to a new audience and everything like that. And I get what he's saying with that. Me personally, I'm not gonna do that. Like, and this isn't a PlayStation thing specifically, is just I'm not going to keep buying certain games over and over and over again if I don't need to, especially if I own them in a certain form. And when you talk about this, I don't say the 7th, but like the 8th and 9th generations that we're in now, even some games in the 7th generation, the improvements aren't large enough to warrant it. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think people should just be expected to keep buying the same games over and over again just to get a sequel to a game that they want. So, but definitely really insightful. Hope he, enjoys what he's doing. I think he's doing like voice acting and all this stuff now, but good to see the people, retiring and whatnot. But speaking of cancellations, he got this is the second time I heard this. So at first we heard about allegedly Xbox was going to shut down in heard in 2018 at first. And the reason people say that was because, the Xbox One was such a disastrous launch, but then 2018 was also when they started buying all these studios, Ninja Theory and Compulsion Games and Playground, and then they also had the Game Pass was coming out and stuff like that. So, but allegedly, so this is coming from the article, you have to pay for it, but this guy NIB95, so check his page out. He posts a lot of financial stuff, I believe, but these are some of the quotes that he took from the article. So specifically in 2021, it says Satya Nadella, who's Microsoft CEO, he had a choice involving either or not either. He had a choice involving Xbox and cloud gaming. So it said the company could either acquire major game studios to drive more subscriptions to its recent Game Pass subscription service, which is crazy because they were just like, I mean, it was young at that time. And I know I didn't get on the Game Pass till I think around this time, I think 2021, like when the Xbox Series X first came out in November or whatever. That's when I first learned about Game Pass, and I got into it the next year. But there wasn't a lot of these day one, we're not getting like Lies of P and Wu Chang and Stalker 2 and all that stuff wasn't coming out. It was just basically play a bunch of Xbox One games, which people didn't care about. But it said either they were going to acquire or just wind down business, which to me is crazy because you're saying in 2021, at what point in 2021? Because like I said, the Series X and S just launched in November 2020. So you're talking about less than a year into the generation. They're just like, nah, man, we ain't with that, bro. Like that, we would have had people saying Dreamcast now, that would have been a real Dreamcast situation. But then we know they got Bethesda for $7 billion in 2021. Then they got Activision Blizzard for $75.4 billion. Golly. This guy, Denny Fish, and people have been kind of latching on to this. He says Activision has been disappointing. Said Denny Fish, a Janice Henderson investors portfolio manager who oversees two funds that included a total of more than $800 million in Microsoft stock as of November. That's crazy. I just think the majority of the game market doesn't really want a Game Pass like the one Microsoft is offering. Another portfolio manager said that. Several leading game studios have resisted Microsoft's pitch that they should put their titles on Game Pass in exchange for fees that Microsoft offers to pay gaming studios. I think that one, they would have to name the studios because I think that there needs to be some context there. We know for a fact Take-Two's not doing that because Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead and all these games, they just make so much money. It doesn't make sense for them to put their games on Game Pass. And if they did, they're going to charge an astronomical amount of money. So I think we need some more context with that because we've seen big games on. So Persona 3 Reload was on there. All the Persona games was on there at one point. Like they have a certain relationship with Sega and Atlas. We've seen some of the Like a Dragon games on there. We've seen some, a bunch of stuff. So again, but this was a really important part. So it says Microsoft hoped that Activision deal would attract more game developers to rent its Azure cloud servers, but apparently the people at Activision are still using Google Cloud and AWS and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff is not panning out. And then this was one of the most important part was it said before completing the deal, they targeted having over 100 million Game Pass subscribers by 2030, which means they would have to triple their current subscriber base in 5 years or grow at a rate of 40% annually since 2020, which we know is not happening. Last we heard, they were at 34 million subscribers, which included all the people they brought over from Xbox Live, which, not saying it doesn't count, but because that's still money. Like if the people stay and then instead of paying that $60 a year for Xbox Live, they're paying $10 a month for core, or maybe they upgrade to ultimate or standard or whatever, and if they stay on for 6 months, you make that same money. So that's not bad. But then we also saw that, so Satya Nadella's metrics for how he gets paid more money, they took Game Pass out of it last year, which is, that's above my pay grade. Literally, like, I do not know how you do that. Like, I don't know how you negotiate that. I don't know if that means, hey, I have no faith in this thing and I'm not about to lose money over it. So yeah, so we've been waiting for financials, especially with the new Black Ops 6 that came out and everything like that. So we've been waiting, but again, these are all unfounded. But then we got this article from Insider Gaming saying that Microsoft Activision denied the report that the financial performance was bad. So from that portfolio manager, I don't know who I believe, but it says on Wednesday, a report from The Information, which was that article that you had to pay for, that I'd never heard of the information before today. It says that they claim that Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard hasn't resulted in the growth that they expected at this point, which I just read. I'm trying to see so breaking the numbers down, Activision has accounted for over 85% of each quarter's revenue increase, which, I understand both sides of that argument. The first part is people saying, well, they own Activision, so it's okay. But then the other side of it is like, okay, so did we just buy Activision so that we can just make that money and like everything else is just losing money at this point? Because at that point, you're going to start closing more studios, which I don't think is good. And I don't think all the work that Phil and Sarah Bond and Aaron Greenberg and all these guys have been trying to put through over the last, I don't know how long it's been, we'll say 7 years. I don't think they want that to just be, hey, we bought Activision and now that's like attributing to everything. Like, that's not what we want. But, and we also want to see, because they're talking about, the Game Pass jumped up with Black Ops 6 and things like that, but we gotta see, because they're saying stuff like, oh, we got 500. They said this earlier this year or last year. Oh, we got 500 million users. It's monthly users. Like, well, yeah, if you include, they said like there's like 240 million people playing King games on their phone and stuff like that. So it's like you could fudge the numbers. I know we have the men lie, women lie numbers. So it's like numbers be lying. Like, you could make numbers lie any way you want. The same way they have these random quarterbacks and they throw them up like, oh, the only people to have this type of game is Peyton Manning and John Elway and this new random guy, the flavor of the week. Like, you can manipulate anything. Okay, so here's it. Okay, so yeah, right here, the 500 million monthly users. Again, it's not very clear. But then you have here with the Activision not wanting to use Azure, and it says that the person that they reached out to from Microsoft, it says that report conflates an opinion that developers are scared of profit loss with the fact that the business is already set up to pay developers up front if that's their choice for how they want to structure their deal. And now it says Microsoft scheduled to announce the earnings for Q2 on January 29th, which is that's 2 weeks from, so 2 Wednesdays from now. So that, and listen, you can't lie on these earnings reports. Like, when you do these earnings reports, yes, you can try and dress it up and everything, but you have to say what you gotta do. You got stakeholders, you got law, you got everybody kind of watching this stuff. So all will be revealed then. But I hope everything's going all right, but it's just like Satya Nadella taking Game Pass out of his compensation is very scary to me. But we will see. But next week we got the Nintendo, or not Nintendo, sorry, jumping ahead. We got the developer direct coming from Xbox. It's going to be January 23rd, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So I won't be live, but I will do like a reaction video for that, so you guys can check it out. But this is good too, because what's like, consumers like consistency, right? So we know we've gotten a developer direct. This is the third one that we've gotten. 2013's was pretty good. It was when we got Hi-Fi Rush, Shock Drop. I don't know why. My mind went somewhere else. But Shock Drop. We had what was that year? Starfield. I don't know if they showed Starfield or they waited till the June showcase. They had Redfall, which we know was terrible, Forza and everything like that. Then last year we had Hellblade. Man, I don't remember what the heck came out last year. Call of Duty? I don't remember. But anyway, so this year we got Doom, the Dark Age. Oh, we had Avowed last year too, but it's coming out this year. And people were wondering that. They were like, oh, why isn't Avowed here considering it's about to launch? And it's like, well, the developer direct normally is games that are coming out this year, and they already showed Avowed last year. So I think it would be kind of weird to show up here again, but again, I haven't seen a lot of marketing for it like other people are saying, but we got Doom the Dark Ages, which people think might be like a May type of game, May time. Ocean Games with South of Midnight, that might come out maybe early June, July, August, somewhere in the summer, people are saying. And then we have again, they've done these third-party kind of like partnerships. Last year, Visions of Mana popped up that no one was expecting. So we got Expedition 33 from Sandfall Interactive, which is my most anticipated game for this year. So I hope we get a release date. I hope that comes out. I don't know how they're going to do this, because you got Fable coming out in the fall, which we're assuming. You got Avowed in February, and then you got 33 Expedition, which is going to be a day one and Game Pass game. And it's not the same as that turn-based style, but it's like you got a bunch of these fantasy RPG type games coming out in the same year. So I don't know. But then we got this mystery game here, and then we're also being told there might be another fifth game to show up that we're not aware of yet. So people were trying to guess what the mystery game was, and Jez Corden from Windows Central said a mysterious fourth game, and I won't spoil what it is, which means he knows already. But he says, our sources indicate that it's a new entry in a legendary Japanese IP, which has decades of history and should make a lot of fans happy. And now, you see my comment right here. I put Persona, you can't even see it. Persona 6, which I don't know, that would be crazy. But you see a lot of people kind of theorizing Final Fantasy. It can't be that, because he said new entry, and Final Fantasy 16 just came out less than 2 years ago. Resident Evil, possibly, but I feel like PlayStation normally gets the Resident Evil stuff. Silent Hill makes no sense. Well, they had the remake recently, but I don't think so. That's nah. Legend of Heroes, I highly doubt. Any of these like Ys, Atelier Ryza, like any of that stuff, I feel like it's a little too niche and won't make a lot of people super excited. Persona will be crazy. Monster Hunter, no. But I've seen some people say Ninja Gaiden, which will be crazy. So, Developer Direct, January 23rd. I'm excited. I mean, yeah, 33 Expedition is going to be my most anticipated game. I want to play Doom the Dark Ages. I gotta play through the other two first, before we get into that. Here's another rumor from Xbox, which is Halo. So we've been hearing about, we already know with the multi-platform strategy that Xbox, and we'll talk about some multi-platform stuff later with Switch 2, but they allegedly, so we got the announcement of Halo Studios last year. We got Gears E-Day, which is a prequel coming out. We know they're going multi-platform. So they're saying that they're expecting them to announce a new game this year. So it says, spotted by Game Ranks, industry insider Rebs Gaming recently spoke about the imminent announcement of an upcoming Halo game. His tweet revealed that the studio has been playtesting future games for the franchise on a weekly basis, which, I mean, playtesting, like, it didn't say, oh, they're developing or they're hiring. Like, they're literally playtesting every week. It says, since they are this far in development, I expect at least one new Halo game announcement this year. That doesn't mean it'll come out this year, but the fact that, you know, they, you know, are playtesting this soon and everything like that, like, we might see it. It also said that they saw a LinkedIn post. This will always happen, to be like LinkedIn or like copyrights and stuff like that. That'd be kind of spoiling this stuff. But it says the LinkedIn post, it says something about centralized testing space that can host staff from different departments so they can play test games together, share ideas, and build better relationships. And I mean, there's been all these reports of Halo, Gears, Forza, Horizon specifically. We've seen Sea of Thieves, all these other games go to Switch 2, go to PlayStation. And another thing with Switch 2, and we're going to talk about in 2 seconds, is people are like, oh, why did they just release this nothing burger of a trailer? And people say, well, if you notice, right after that, a bunch of these like indie studios started announcing that, hey, we got games coming out for Switch 2. So they wanted to give those, their partners or third-party partners a chance to promote their game. And we've seen that with, I think it was like Yooka-Laylee, like a few months ago. It says something with Switch and it had like 2 eyeballs on it or something, and everybody's like, oh, what is that? So they made that announcement. So I think with Switch 2 coming out in, well, we'll talk about it, but when our Switch 2 comes out, I do believe like Hi-Fi Rush, that should be on there. Master Chief Collection, that's been rumored for a while. I could see that being on there. Gears E-Day at some point, and then also coming to PS5. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm curious to know when this Halo, like if it's an Unreal Engine 5 game and they just made the studio recently, how long have they been working on it? Like, that's, I don't know. Coming from the, I forget what it's called, Slipspace or Slipstream engine, and then making it this quickly. Who knows? But we'll see it on the Switch 2 most likely, which did finally get revealed today. And I did do a whole video on it, so I'm gonna skim through it a little bit. We don't have to like watch the whole thing. So they did just tweet this out of nowhere, just post on YouTube, but it pretty much showed like an original Switch, what the changes were. We got a new kickstand. You got rid of the guardrails. You see the Joy-Cons changed, and it does look like the Makos. We saw some Makos that look almost exactly like this. You got the little red and blue, which I have on the lights behind me if you didn't notice, but we got that. You got the little, let me see if it shows it, the little magnetic insert onto the, actually before that, so we had some rumors that you would be able to use these like a mouse for certain games with the infrared light as you saw them being dragged across the thing. You got the magnetic clip ins here, which I think is a much cleaner look. Hopefully those, the clip in magnetic part is not too flimsy. We won't get too much, Joy-Con issues. People were breaking down this Mario Kart trailer like super hard. I'm like, bro, I wasn't trying to be negative. I was just like, I do not care Mario Kart this much. They talking about, oh, they're going back to the roots, and I'm like, this looks like Mario Kart 8 to me. But yeah, Switch 2, they say it's backwards compatible. Of course, there's certain games that they won't have. Then we'll get a full-on direct in April, so April 2nd. Get a direct showing off, the games and launch lineup and probably release details, probably pre-orders open that day. And then also they got this called Nintendo Switch 2 Experience. So if you go on their website, you'll see that they're doing different hands-on experiences with the Switch 2 they got it in New York, Dallas, Melbourne, a bunch of places all around the world. So I'm gonna definitely try and check it out. In New York, there's going to be, actually, if you're watching this today on the 17th, I want to get the exact date, but and pull it up. But the signups for it is you don't have to do it immediately, but there it is. So the registration opens January 17th at what is that? 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time, and it stays open until January 26th at 11:59. Which I'm not gonna hold you. I would not trust this because I feel like I've seen this stuff from video games to sneakers, other stuff. They'll say this, but then they'll be like, "Oh, our servers were overloaded. It was too many people. We didn't want to and they'll just close it after like 2 days instead of like I do not see this staying open for 9 days. There's no way. But yeah, here's the stuff. So you got LA, April 11th to the 13th. You got New York, April 4th to the 6th. You got April 25th to 27th in Dallas. So yeah, people that are interested, you can sign up. It's gonna be your account as part of the family group. All attendees in the same group must attend the same session together. Yeah, so you need an account. It's free to enter, and you just gotta hope. But let's be honest, the place is not gigantic. They're gonna probably prioritize influencers and media publications. And like I said, me going to New York, it's like it's it's too many people, bro. It's too many. I'm gonna try either way. Try to get some footage. I think that'll be a really good video for my channel too. So I'm really hoping I'll be able to go. What I don't like is they're gonna tell you they're probably gonna have a bunch of slots like, hey, you have this day and you got these times. You're gonna pick a random time that you could go, and if you don't get that slot, that's it. They're not gonna, or maybe they let you pick 3 or prioritize. Who knows? But I think it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But either way, Switch 2, we don't have any specs and all that kind of stuff that people was putting out. I'm semi excited for it. I'm not like over the moon, like, oh, I can't wait to get it. I do want to, if they got new 3D Mario, that's what I want to play. I want to see what games they have optimized that are backwards compatible, because while it is backwards compatible, I don't think you can just put the Switch game in and it'll just run better. Like, they have to take the time to do that. And I think Nintendo's not big on optimization and fidelity and all this kind of stuff. But I think with the Switch 2, maybe they'll prove us wrong. I mean, I think the Switch is so popular that they should put their best foot forward with this system, especially since it's going to be such a minimal step forward in the generations with gaming. So we'll see. We got the trailer today. We got the full direct in April. Hands-on. I saw in some countries the hands-on goes till like June 1st. So it's possible we could get it in the summer, but I could see this being like a September launch. I think September will be good. There's reports that they'll have enough to do 20 million shipped in the first year, and they did, I think, 15 million for the original Switch, which it doesn't mean they'll do that, but it's saying their supply chain set up to do 20 million, which is crazy because, again, if you're launching after June, you only got half a year, less than that, depending on when you launch, to get all those units out. So we'll see. Either way, I'll have it day one, unboxing on the channel, try to see what games play really well on it and everything like that, and then you guys will get that. Hopefully I get the experience so I can show you guys that as well. But that's it for this week. Again, say the gaming industry episode 21 is in the books. Thank you guys for watching. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, check out my other videos, check all the links in the description. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, do please rate 5 stars, share this with your friends and family, and yeah, I'm out.